You need to remove the negative thoughts out of your head. You need to remove your negative situations. You need to remove your negative surroundings, and so that you can actually input positive things in your life and actually be the product of that positivity.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 17 of the Andrew Deitch podcast. I'm a little bit behind on where I wanted to be upload-wise this week, but I'm still chugging away, trying to pump these episodes out. Right now I'm actually in Washington, D.C., underneath a whole bunch of pillows, trying to get some good audio quality in my hotel room. There's a whole bunch of weird background noise, but I'm trying to upload this one tonight so that it will be released on Sunday morning. But it's pretty cool to be here in Washington, D.C., especially with all the crazy political stuff that's been happening the past couple years, as all of you know. But I haven't been to D.C. in almost 10 years, so it's great to be back now that I can kind of appreciate everything a little bit more, everything that kind of goes on here. But yeah, I'm going to be recording episode 20 up here pretty soon with a friend that lives up here in D.C., so that should be coming very, very soon, hopefully in the next week. But my guest today is motivational speaker, entrepreneur, social media influencer, creator, and digital marketer, Morgan J. Ingram. And a few years ago, Morgan discovered his passion of speaking. He was already kind of an entrepreneur. He'd started some businesses, but he really started to find a passion for speaking, and he hasn't really stopped chasing that dream ever since. And when he first started out speaking, most of his family and friends thought that he was crazy, but he was just getting in front of whatever crowds that he could. He, open mic nights to high school basketball teams to the Rotary clubs. He would not quit, even in the face of adversity, and it has definitely paid off for him. Only a short time later, just a couple years, now he's being paid to speak at tons of events all around the country. And a couple of weeks ago, he spoke alongside the legendary Gary Vaynerchuk. And Gary is actually one of the most influential people in my journey of entrepreneurship and motivation and success and all that kind of stuff. So that was a really big deal to me. But in this episode, Morgan and I talked about all kinds of stuff, but we talked about his previous experience as a professional video gamer. We talked about how he got into public speaking and some of his hilarious stories of some of his first speaking gigs. And at the end, we actually got a taste of one of his paid speeches that he gives. So this was a super fun podcast. I really want to thank Morgan for being on the show. And without any further ado, here is my friend, Morgan J. Ingram. All right, Morgan J. Ingram. Do you always use the J, or is that just for Facebook?
So it's actually cultivated into a thing now. So the reason that I put the J on there is because when I typed in my name, like Morgan Ingram, and it came up with like this Dr. Phil stuff. And I was like, there's no way I'm just going to come out the gates and surpass like all this Dr. Phil news.
So there's a guest on Dr. Phil?
Yeah, it was a guest on like Dr. Phil, and like the girl's name was like Morgan Ingram, and like it was like weird, like she died or something. So like it was like 5 pages of just that. So I was like, okay, so how am I going to be able to actually show up on Google when somebody searches me? So what I did is I just added the J, because my middle name is Joseph. And so it's just Morgan J. Ingram, and it's now cultivated into a thing. Like people just say, hey, it's Morgan J. Like people just like say it as part of my name. So they think it's like my first name. It's really weird. But the J has like branded itself into something that's like bigger than I thought it would get.
That's actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's interesting, because my last name is Deitch. It's like super... super weird. So there's a doctor named Andrew Deitch in like Virginia or something, but that's like the only other Andrew Deitch that really comes up on Google, which is kind of crazy. But that's interesting. So like I kind of mentioned to you, I kind of like to start off the podcast with just like some context. And the main reason, a lot of times you tend to think of somebody as just like a stagnant, not a stagnant object, but this is Morgan and he's this.
Yeah.
But obviously there was so many steps that happened in between when you were a baby to where you are now, and just kind of bring everybody up to speed on some milestones and stuff like that.
Yeah, I like her going with this. So for me, like where I'm at now has been a cultivation of things heavily in middle school, high school, my childhood. Growing up, I had, 2 younger brothers. Mom and dad been together the entire time since I've been born.
Were you born in Atlanta?
Yeah, I was born in Atlanta, so I've been here my entire life. So I went to UGA, went to private school, Greater Atlanta Christian in Norcross. So I've been here like my entire life, and so it's interesting because when I was growing up, like I never was like the number one at anything. I was always like mid-tier, like just average. I don't know what it was. It was just like basketball. I wasn't the best on the team. In class, I wasn't the best in class. Like, I wasn't like the most popular person. I never had like that upper echelon spot. So that I always like had a chip on my shoulder. Like as soon as I got into college, I was like, I just had like this chip on my shoulder from childhood, from middle school, from high school. I had that huge chip. So
you just wanted to be like number one at something.
I just wanted to be the best. I think it was like in the summer, I was taking summer class at UGA, and someone asked me, like I was at a bar and they were like, what do you want to do? And I just told them like, I just want to be the best. Like, I don't even care. Like I looked like legit, that was my answer. Like, I just want to be the best. Like whatever it is, I can be the best at. I just want to be the best. Cause it was just like this chip on my shoulder of never actually being recognized or getting any accolades for like being the best at anything. Cause my
That's interesting.
Yeah. So like my younger brother, like he goes to Harvard, the other brother like graduated high school early. So I never had like.
But you were the oldest?
But I'm the oldest. So I never had like that, like, I never had it. So that's why.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's why I was like, I wanted to be the best. And so to kind of like, why I'm saying all that is like now, what I do is I do public speaking, motivational speaking. I'm also a sales manager and also do, a lot of like sales, thought leadership content around what I'm doing. And, that's cultivated into something that like, this is right where I'm at right now. Like I've had a lot of momentum and I've done a lot of things that's actually like cultivated me to actually like being the best. And so that's why I'm like super excited now, because it's like I'm actually finding something that like
you can be the best at.
Exactly. So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So you said you went to like a Greater Atlanta Christian, right?
Yeah.
I went to a private school for like middle school too. Mm-hmm. Another weird thing about going to a middle school, like you were saying, like it's really hard to be like the best. But even in a small school, it's funny because like you think, oh, this kid, he's the best at this. But then you go to like public school and there's kids that are way better than that kid. So then you feel even worse because you're like, oh crap, I'm like the middle of the pack in this tiny area. Yeah. But I wish I was the top at everything, which is kind of cool. So you went to UGA. Did you graduated from there?
Yeah, graduated from there. So I graduated with finance and sports management. Wanted to be a sports agent, but they told me I had to go to law school. That wasn't happening.
Why would you have to go to law school?
So basically, like you handle contracts. So they basically are saying that you have to go to law school at the end of the day. But I think it all comes down to networking and having relationships. So like in the future, like I want to be involved with something like that sports agency, maybe even like kind of like esports or like gaming, something around that. Like I want to get involved in that. I think it's something that I'd be really good at. But they told me how to go to law school, and every single like thing that I tried to go to, like they told me that's what I had to do. So it was just like, all right, I'm gonna do something else.
That's weird. Yeah. So what was the degree in? It was sports.
So I double majored. So I got a finance degree out of the business college, and then I got a sports management degree out of the College of Education.
Gotcha. Yeah. But they would ideally want you to get that sports degree and the law school thing.
Correct.
That's guess it makes sense because, like you said, you have to like handle contracts. I actually know the manager of Hines Ward, and he's like a lawyer, like so he's got to do all that kind of stuff. Right. I want to have him on the podcast soon because I'm sure he's got like some crazy stories.
Yeah, he probably does.
I haven't reached out to him yet, but that's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
But so then when you kind of transition from that, you're like, oh shit, I can't really go into this thing that I wanted. How did you kind of make that transition? What did you do? Yeah, so the biggest thing that I knew just from reading a lot of books was that I just needed to start networking and getting involved. So I don't know if you're familiar with Atlanta Tech Village here in Atlanta, right down the street, right here in Buckhead. So I went there to one of the meetups and just like networked with people. I met an individual there named Jeff. He told me about Terminus, where I currently work. And he was like, they just got funding, like you should check it out. I was like, obviously they had funding, obviously they're doing good, so maybe I need to call. So I literally cold called the director of sales, and I told her like, hey, look, this is what I want to do. Like I want to be a part of this, and had an interview and then move forward from there. Nice.
Yeah.
So what exactly is Terminus?
Yeah, so Terminus is a B2B marketing platform for B2B marketers, and basically it's helping you get in front of the key stakeholders with our digital ad platform. So that's really what we do at Terminus. We're just helping B2B marketers be more effective with their ad spend.
Gotcha. So for people who like are listening to this and they're like, what the hell did he just say? So basically, like, I'll try to break it down for anybody who doesn't get all that. So it's like a business is trying to market to another business.
Correct.
And you're doing digital marketing, so like social platforms, like is it like Facebook ads?
So display ads.
Okay,
display
gotcha.
ads can be through the social networks like Twitter, LinkedIn.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And you're like targeting the stakeholders, like you said, so like the people that are going to be the ones that you actually want to talk to.
Right. So like the C-suite level, which is like CEO, CMO, CTO. It could be VPs, directors, managers, whatever you're targeting. Basically, we have different buckets of target lists, and you're like, okay, I want to target these people, and then basically the aggregate of our ads can target those individuals.
Nice.
And
That's
that
really cool.
account as a whole.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. So you've been working there ever since, pretty much?
Yeah. So I after college, that's where I worked. It's my first job, and I was basically just a sales rep for a year, and then I got promoted to manager, and now I manage 9 reps.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
So kind of during that time, were you doing any of this kind of like public speaking kind of stuff, or when did that kind of start evolving? And
Yeah, so crazy story around that. So before actually I graduated college, I had done a couple of public speaking because I had started a company. It went pretty well for a while, and I got in the newspaper, got some buzz, and so
what
a lot
kind of
of
company
people,
was it?
Yeah, so it was basically it was a gaming company. So what we were doing is we were hosting gaming tournaments on college campuses. So we did it in UGA, we did one at Georgia State, and no, it was really cool. We just literally go to the organizations and be like, hey, like, you know, how do you even know how to organize this? No, most of the times they didn't. So what we would do is we would go to a venue, and basically a venue that's on a slow night, we would actually bring more people there that obviously like you've never seen before because they're gamers, and you probably have never actually like connected with them at all.
Gotcha. Makes sense. So you'd go into venues that weren't doing so hot on like a Wednesday or whatever, and host some like you're talking about video games, right?
Yeah, video games.
Cool.
Like League of Legends, Halo, Smash Brothers, Mario Kart, whatever. We would have a tournament off that, and basically because it was gaining awareness from that audience that no one's really ever interacted with, we would get sponsors like Creature Comforts, Terrapin, Bricks Pizza, which is in Athens, like different type of sponsors would actually sponsor us as well.
Nice. So you got some buzz from that, and you got in the newspaper, and then people started asking you to do speaking, or what happened?
So people were asking me to do speaking. They were like, hey, like, can you come to this class and talk to these like 20 kids? And I was like, whatever. But no, I really was. It's funny because now like I think I could be the best speaker of all time right now, but overall, I actually hated speakers. I hated them. So like when I was growing up and like, you know, you're sitting in the audience and you like hear some like old Joe Smo talking, you're like, this is irrelevant to my life, right? Like you're just like, this is boring. So my perception of the speakers was always like, they're just boring. Like, I don't know why they're even showing up here. So when I was watching them, I always was bored. So when I got asked to speak, I was like, I know that these kids are gonna think that I'm boring. But I did it anyways because I was like, all right, I'm good friends with this guy. I'm gonna go show up and speak. So I did it. It was in front of like 20 people, and then I realized that like I loved it. Like I don't know what it was, but like as I was speaking, I was like, this is it. Like I can be really good at this. And after like people came up, they asked me questions, and I was like, I actually can really do this, and I can change the game.
Did it seem like people were engaged and stuff? Like were they
locked in? Like
that's awesome.
I was speaking, people were locked in. Like they came up and like literally had sincere questions. Like people were like really engaged.
That's awesome.
And then I was like, oh, okay, like this is it.
I'm good at this.
I'm good at this. Yeah, it's like, you know, it's anything. Like when you find something that you're just naturally good at and like no one has to really tell you about it, then you're like, I'm gonna get better at this.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's actually something that's been kind of interesting about the podcast thing. I just kind of started it recently, and I've had like so much awesome feedback about it that I've just been I'm like so focused on doubling down on this now because like so many people are like, dude, these are really good, and I'm like, that means the world to me. That's so awesome because this is just something that was in my head a couple months ago, and now it's real, and I've created it, and people love it. Yeah, like man. So that's really really cool, man. So then after that, did you start seeking it out, or were other people asking you, or
this what? I love where this conversation is going. So basically, like after that, I realized that I could be really good. So I basically just by osmosis found like Eric Thomas.
Yeah.
This dude was lit. Like that dude got me fired up. Yeah. It was like, and it was a cultivation because Gary Vaynerchuk, I just found him. I literally, as soon as I found his, because this is when he had just started the Ask Gary V show. I literally watched like 50 episodes straight. Like I was like, whoa, I was hooked. I was locked in. Like it was.
The crazy thing about the Gary V show too is that he kind of has guests in the sense that there's people asking questions and giving the content, but like, he is the focal point. Like, that's what's so crazy is he has hundreds of episodes.
Yeah, it was before he brought the guests on.
Yeah.
So it was just him. And it was just questions. And India was still there. Yeah. So that was watch that. Then basically got like introduced to like Tony Robbins. And then it just became like this waterfall effect. I just started finding all these people. And so from that, what I did is that like the biggest thing for me is like watching and observing and then acting on it. So what I would do is I literally just like, I'd studied it like football or like basketball film. Like I literally would put my laptop on, watch it for like 6 to 8 hours of them just talking, and I'd be like, so how are they speaking? Like why are people gravitated towards them? Like how are they stopping? Are they just like blabbing on? Are they getting really hype at some instances and they're getting really low at some instances? So I like really watched it because I was like, I want to be really good at this when I speak the first time. So I started doing Periscope, which is like, kind of dying off now, but when it was huge.
But it was essentially, for people who don't remember or didn't know about it, it was like live streaming, and you could comment in real time.
Yep.
And it was through, and Twitter invented it, right?
Yeah, it was through Twitter.
And that was the same time Meerkat came out too, but Meerkat like pretty much.
But it kind of died off of the Periscope.
Yeah.
So Periscope was like huge, like this live streaming was huge, and Blab too. I don't know if you guys know about Blab, but Blab was kind of like another live streaming thing. And so after I graduated from college, I had like 5 to 6 months where I really wasn't doing anything. So I literally saw Periscope and I was like, I'm just gonna like go hard on this. So I did a Periscope like every single day for like 20 minutes, 10 minutes. And I did it every day. And from that, it cultivated into like an audience, and it cultivated into me even realizing more that like I was naturally good at this. Like I would say things and people were like, I'm so fired up, and I'm like, okay, like I didn't realize
So you're doing like motivational content?
Yeah, I was just straight motivational content, which I'll kind of go into like why I would advise people not to do what I did. I kind of learned my lesson from it, but I just went straight into motivational stuff because I was like, I'm just gonna give people energy because I knew and felt that would actually help people. And it did. It put me on the map. I got connected to a lot of people that I still talk to today, and it really cultivated into something. And from there, someone found me through a Periscope, and they asked me, like, do you want to speak? And so before all that, I had been reaching out to local high schools, local middle schools, and every single one of them rejected me. Like, I literally
What was your, like, pitch to them?
I mean, it wasn't really that good. It was just like, hey, like, I'm a motivational speaker, like, I want to help your students like remove the negative thoughts and there's negative surroundings to like provoke a positive environment. Like I guess it was good in some sense, but it really wasn't like super strong.
Kind of like what Eric Thomas does.
Yeah.
Like he used to do it more. He would go and speak to schools and stuff.
Right. So I was just trying to build something. Like I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Like I had no idea.
Obviously. And just trying to like get in there and do it.
Something.
Kind of like stand-up comedy. Like you just got to go to those open mic nights and eat shit for a while until like you actually can succeed.
Yeah, so it literally was like that. So like, and it's funny because everyone thought I was insane. So my mom and dad thought I was crazy. My brothers had no idea what I was doing. My like even my good friends were like laughing at me. So it was one of those times that like it was tough because like no one understood like where I was coming from.
And
like,
people
no one got it.
It's so easy to hate on something from the sidelines when you're not actually trying to make something. Like it's so much easier to hate on something than stand for something.
Yeah. And so I would say during that time, a lot of my friendships diminished, a lot of things diminished. I only had like a couple close friends that were like, yo, we believe in you. So that was cool. But, even my own family did not understand what I was doing. But the testament to the audience here is that you got to really just forget that. Like you got to like just, if you like, I just felt my heartbeat and I felt my instinct, like this is something that I had to do. Like I really didn't have a choice. So I was kind of like mentally insane about it. So I was reaching out to these schools, didn't really get anywhere. And I said, like, kind of going back to the point, reached back out. The guy reached out to me and was like, hey, we're coming to Atlanta for like this event. Like, we want you to be one of the speakers. And I was like, cool. So I was like, I have to destroy this. Like, this is big for me. Because the only speeches I'd done thus far were like small stuff, like speaking to a basketball team before a game, like 15, 20 people, like in a locker room. Like, it was like really, really like hardcore. Like, I was really trying to build something. I was trying to do something. So, and none of these were paid too. Like, these were straight up like, this was free. So
of course,
I think a lot of people think that they're just going to start their speaking career, start a career, and get like thousands of dollars from the upfront. Like, that's not going to happen. So it's just not happening. But so I went there, I did it, I did really well. And the cool thing about that is that someone I had watched the video on talked about, like, you have to show up 100% because you don't know who's watching. And so from that speech, someone in the back of the room was like, hey, look, like, we have an event tomorrow and like, we can get you as a speaker. Can you do it? And I was like, yes, yeah, I want to do that. So I did really well in that speech. And then from that speech, I went to the next one, and then I did really well there. And then like 3 people in the audience were like, hey, like, we need you to do this. We need you to do this. And really it just cultivated from there. So I just started building experience, and I just started speaking everywhere. High schools, events, like open mic nights. Like, I would be the only motivational speaker, a public speaker, and like everyone else would be a comedian. So like, why is this guy here? But I was so locked in.
Were people receptive at the open mic nights, or were they just kind of like, what the?
People were taken aback because people thought I was like going to be a comedian or something. Because for every speech that I do, I always wear a fedora. So people were like, expecting me to be like a comedian or something, or like something like a musician, but I ended up being like a speaker, and people are like, what? And so like people weren't ready for me to
just imagine that. Like, they're like, okay, this funny guy, who's this guy with the fedora? And then all of a sudden you're like, we're gonna change your life. And you're just like, I'm way too high for this right now.
Exactly.
I was trying to watch some comedy.
Exactly. I'm just like coming in there lit. People are like, oh my gosh, like, this dude is taking the game over. So like, but I was that locked in. Like, I knew that I had to get all experience I could. So that's how it really started out. And now I get paid to do it. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, but it's like it's a grind of it. Like, the grind of like making all the videos, making all the content, networking with people, like getting out there is super tough. But at the end of the day, like, I've done so much speaking. I've done a lot of them that like I really don't get too nervous about them anymore. I know exactly what I need to say because it's like I've learned that, okay, I went too fast here, and I would watch every single speech that I did after.
You recorded them?
Yeah, nice. I record them. So I always had someone in the audience record them, or I would just ask the event, can they record them? And I would literally review it, and I would be like, that was terrible. I don't need to do that again. Or like, that point was really good. I should get more hype there. So I always recorded them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So like, from these first motivational things, like what were you actually, what were you saying? Like what was your message, I guess? So, and has it changed over since?
It definitely has changed.
Cool.
Definitely has changed. So I was really just talking about like it was, it's weird because I was telling people like, go after it because I was going after it. So like, it was during the time where I just kind of was like telling people that like, you have to like go after what you want. Because I was doing that like actively, because there was so many people who were telling me not to do it, or like, you're not going to be relevant, you're not going to be credible. So that's the content I was saying. I was also talking about,
you were your own message essentially.
Pretty much, yeah. And then I just told people like, hey, stay away from negative people because I had dealt with that in the past. Get away from negative surroundings because I had dealt with that in the past. I talked about how you really need to be, positively charged in your head to have positive situations, because I went through a phase where I was actually a really negative person, and the only way I could actually get through that was to actually listen to motivational content like continuously, like every single day. So it was stuff like that I was telling people that like, you need to understand that like all the situations that you go through, like there's always a positive outlook. There's always something positive that can come out of it. So my message really was just like liberation is kind of in a sense what I called it. And I just was trying to tell people that, hey, look, you need to remove the negative thoughts out of your head. You need to remove your negative situations. You need to remove your negative surroundings, and so that you can actually input positive things in your life and actually be the product of that positivity. So that was like my core message.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, how long has it been since you like first kind of started doing that to now?
It's been 2 years.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So like, obviously it's gotten a lot bigger. You've gotten more successful. And I know like you're all about doing like Facebook Lives and like all that kind of stuff. So kind of how has like that evolved, I guess, like over time?
I realized I had to be more of a human. That was...
People had to relate to you.
Exactly. Like, because I just came off so, like... I think the perception about me, like, because people thought I was really going crazy because I kept posting videos. I did it for like 90 days straight. I posted like a Facebook video, like when I first started doing Facebook videos. And I think people thought I was going crazy. And I think also people were like, why is this guy talking so much? He hasn't done anything. And like, why does he have this entitlement because he's creating these videos? So I think I got that perception and I realized that, but I really didn't care because I knew I had to practice through that. I had to get through that phase. So more so now I had to become more human and say like, this is the stuff that I deal with, or like be, you know, have a little bit of comedy in there, you know, like be like actually relatable. I think that's where the content
I think that every like, I guess, speaker that I've ever really enjoyed has always had at least some sort of comedic element to it. You know, you've got to keep people laughing every couple minutes or so just to kind of keep people engaged. One thing that I was thinking about too is I'm sure one of the most common things was like, who's this young guy and what does he know about life? Like that's, you know, that I was actually talking with my mom about this earlier about my podcast because I was thinking about who my audience is and who's actually listening to this. And my mom was kind of saying, yeah, well, the older people that are listening are either people that already know you or, you know, they might know one of your guests, or maybe they're just, you know, trying to figure out the perspective of young people these days. And so, because she was saying, for me personally, you know, I probably wouldn't listen to your podcast unless I knew you, just because it's like, who's this kid and why should I even listen to him?
Right. Yeah, so that's funny. So I went to speak at a Rotary Club in Swanee. And
what exactly is a Rotary Club?
So yeah, this is one of the things that I did. So I learned so much by reaching out to schools and all these things. I was, like I said, I was very, very guerrilla tactics. So it was Rotary clubs and they're called something else too. There's a Rotary Club and then there's like a community club. They're two separate things.
Gotcha.
And what they are basically just like meetups, like for older people, like in the community. So they basically just like meet up to do like fundraising stuff, like nonprofit stuff. They just have meetings like every single like month.
Kind of like church without religion.
Pretty much. That's pretty much what it is. It's like old school. They meet, they kind of say their core values, and they talk about the events that they're going to do, like what they're going to do to better help the community.
Gotcha.
It's basically what it is.
Gotcha.
And it's like a society within each city. So basically they're always looking for speakers, so you can always go there. It's like practice and just network, because these people know people. So if you're good, they're going to want to help you.
Cool.
And so that's another thing I did is like, okay, like if I got to get in front of people and like these emails aren't working, then I need to have a human like verify me. So that was like kind of my next step. So this is after like the emailing just failed. Like it just really wasn't going anywhere. So I went to Rotary Club. It was in Swanee, and I showed up, and the guy was like, "Wait, we thought you were gonna be way older." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm only 24." And they're like, okay, like they just were not ready. And I was like, okay, so like they already do not expect me to be good. So I was like, I'm gonna destroy this though. Like I have to do really well. So I enter the room and it's like 40 up. Like these people are old. Like these people have a career. They've probably done it already, like on the way to retirement. Like these people are super old. So I enter the room. I'm easily the youngest person in there. And I'm like, okay, dang. So I'm about to speak in all front of these older people. Like, what am I going to do? Like, I got to do really well here. So I go up there and I just see, like when I see everybody, there's like 100 people in the room. And I'm like, yeah, they don't think I know anything. But I always believe that like, if that's your gift and that's what you're good at, then you can always give someone value. So I kind of flipped the switch, and I literally at the beginning I said, hey guys, you know, my name's Morgan Ingram, and you know, I don't think you guys probably don't think that I'm gonna provide you any value today, and just because I'm younger. But however, I do have some things to say that I think you guys could actually find a little bit of value in, and also help your kids. So I just twisted it. I already knew that was happening, so I just like, I'm just gonna go ahead and say.
That's so cool. You just like address the elephant in the room right off the bat.
I was like, hey guys, I'm 24. I graduated college like 6 months ago. You guys probably don't think you can get anything from me, but like I think that you can if you just keep an open ear, and I think that your kids can also kind of gain perspective on what I'm going to say. So
that's cool that you mentioned the kids thing too, because then they were kind of like, oh, good point.
Yeah.
Like I might be able to learn something from this respectable young man.
Exactly. And then everything changed. So I went in my points, and then after, like, I had like 10 people lined up wanting to talk to me after.
Wow, that's awesome, man.
So I think sometimes, like, we're afraid to, like, address something when we see it, and we just kind of want to skirt by it. But I just knew that if I addressed it, like, straight up, that, like, it would just be out the way. Like, then they'd be like, okay, like, I'm gonna listen now, because he even realizes that, like, we might not listen to him.
That's really cool. Another thing that I think, too, that people kind of stereotype the whole motivational speaker thing kind of into is that you're just really into yourself and you love the smell of your own shit kind of thing. And you just, you like, I feel like I have important things to say, so hire me to say these things.
Yeah.
And that's cool that, you address that right off the bat, that you think that I'm not going to give any value, but hopefully you can keep an open mind because I have some cool things to say. That's really interesting. So like what, in that particular instance, did you kind of change your message up a bit, or did you kind of stay on point with what you were saying before?
Yeah, so it changed. I mean, it changed up a little bit. Like there were some things that I said that I probably wouldn't say to like a normal audience, but my points pretty much stayed the same, because I think at the end of the day, people that are older probably still they probably still have negative people in their life.
Definitely.
They probably still have negative surroundings.
Definitely.
Like they're probably, not listening to as much content as they should.
Yeah.
They're probably not going after what they want, you know?
Yeah.
So still kind of giving that.
That's cool.
That fire to people, like seeing how fired up I am and like giving them the fire to actually go do something after.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so I feel also a lot of times with the motivational speaker thing, people think like, oh yeah, I'm so motivated, I'm so fired up.
Yeah.
And then like a week later, they're like already forgotten it and they're like back to the grindstone. How do you like combat that? How do you try to like give people, I guess the way to combat that would be to give people practical things that they can go home and do or whatever.
Yeah, so, in the beginning, when I first started speaking, it was just straight up, I'm going to deliver the message and then like I'm out, But now the speeches that I do, I only talk for like, unless they want me to talk longer, I'll only talk for really like 25 to 30 minutes, and the rest of that is Q&A.
That's kind of like what Gary Vaynerchuk does a lot.
Yeah, so I switched my format because I found out that like people are way more receptive to the Q&A because they probably have a question and I can take a deep dive with them and be very practical. And I'm 100% comfortable with Q&A because I feel like I know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it,
Yeah, exactly. Because otherwise you could just have your script of exactly what you're going to say and then just like, all right, peace out, and just not address anything.
Yeah,
that's
so
cool.
That's how I get people to like actually do what they need.
What are like some of the typical questions that you get asked, if there is any typical ones, or if they're all...
So the speaking that I do now, from where the majority of where that the money comes from, that is like organizations. So like I speak like the sales teams. That's where the majority of it comes from, at least from right now. And so they are asking me, how do you be successful in sales? Like, how do you get past the highs and lows? Like, how do you get through emotion? How do you handle objections? Like, how do you remain focused? Like, how do you do things? How are you building a brand outside of work and doing well at work? So it's those kind of questions that I get.
That's actually a really good question, because the last question you said, how do you build a brand outside of work? I think that's something really practical that probably a lot of people listening right now are thinking like, I've got this thing that's always been in the back of my head. I've always thought that if I would just freaking do this thing, I'd succeed at it, but I'm too afraid, don't want to get out of my comfort zone, too much work, all the excuses or whatever.
Right.
What? So for you, you're building this brand outside of your normal job. How do you do it? How do you answer that question?
Yeah. So people think, it's funny. So people that either come to interview sometimes or people that meet me for the first time think that all I do is make videos all day. That's what they only think. They're like, oh, this guy just makes videos all day. And I'm like, no, don't get it twisted. Like, I have a job, I work, I have one of the biggest teams in the company, and like, I'm still doing everything else. So like, don't ever get that twisted, right? So I think the hardest thing is saying you want to do all those things and not having a schedule. So literally the only way I'm able to do everything is that like, my calendar right now is just always full. Like, I literally know exactly when I have to do things, and that's how I keep the progression. Yeah,
because people all the time are saying, well, I don't have time for this. But yet they're probably browsing Facebook for a grand total of like an hour every single day.
Exactly.
So like if you had that rigid schedule, you'd be able to make that time. That's a really good point. And I'm actually kind of going through the same thing right now, because I've got my other job. I'm not making any money from this podcast yet. Exactly. Weekends are huge. Obviously, more like I actually have a pretty flexible schedule, so it's just like I'm trying to balance working out, doing this podcast, and going to my normal job.
Right.
All of that in the balance, and so the schedule is 100% what you got to do.
Right.
That's for sure.
The schedule is. That's my advice to everyone. Like, you're like, oh, I can't do all this stuff. It's like, if you make a schedule, like, you'll be able to do it.
That's awesome. So now, like you said, you're kind of doing a lot of sales teams and stuff like that. How are you? Are you getting tons of referrals from these people, or like how are you getting new clients, I guess, to talk to?
Yeah. So basically, like, it's kind of crazy because I created a YouTube channel called the SDR Chronicles. And what that was, or what it is a
Sorry, what is it called?
The SDR Chronicles.
SDR Chronicles?
Yeah, so it stands for Sales Development Rep.
Nice.
And so when I got hired, I basically was like, I didn't know anything about the industry I was going into at all. I was completely oblivious to anything. So I was like, I'm going to document my journey throughout my time here and give people advice and stuff that like I'm not doing so well and stuff that I'm doing really well in. So I just started documenting it, and now it's at like 75 episodes. From those 75 episodes, people go and watch them, and they'll be like, hey, I want you to come in and like speak. So I don't even really reach out to a lot of people, to be honest. It all comes literally just from the content that I'm making. And based off of how well I do there, they'll be like, all right, like, yeah, you need to go talk to so-and-so's team or so-and-so's team. So I do a ton of Lunch and Learns webcast stuff.
Nice. That's awesome. I feel like right now, in today's day and age, people are so dismissive of the reach out a lot of times because so many people are trying to grab your attention. So like just putting out tons and tons of content is such a good way to get people to actually pay attention to you because they don't feel it's like as intrusive.
Right.
But like, for example, if they happen to see you on Twitter or whatever, and then they click your profile and see you've got tons and tons of good stuff, then they're like, oh, and they're more like open, I feel like. That's kind of what I'm trying to do with the podcast right now is, like with my Instagram, just make so much stuff. With my Twitter, make just tons of stuff. So then I just have stuff for people to look at. Is that kind of the advice that you're giving at your job with Terminus? Like, are you with your clients that you're having? Are they doing? Obviously, you're doing tons of hardcore reach out, but with the ads and stuff. But is the content? I'm sure is a huge part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough because this is a question that I always get asked. Like, should salespeople be making content? And I don't think every single person should be making content. Like, I just know that I can do it, so I'm gonna do it. But I don't know if someone else has the inner drive and ambition and like the heads downness to do that. Like, it's not, you can't just like be willy-nilly with it. Like, it's like part of like your life. You know, it's like this is what you do day in and day out. So my thing is that like if you want to be great in this day and age, like you need to be making content. If you just want to be average, then don't make content. That's kind of like my answer to it. Because like if you're just like, yeah, I just want to sell, like I'm not really worried about all that stuff, great, then don't make content. But if you're like, I want to be the best at what I'm doing, then you're going to have to document what you're doing. Definitely.
So if there's someone out there listening right now and they have this like awesome idea, but they just haven't taken action on it, what would you kind of say to them? Like what's your motivation to them to just freaking start it? And then what are some like, I guess just practical things that they can do?
Yeah, so I mean, if you have a great idea, you need to look at the top, I would say even top 100 people in your industry and kind of see what they're doing with the idea that you have, see what's going on. And I would just say start executing on it. I mean, that was the biggest thing that I did. I think a lot of people are waiting for approval. They're waiting for someone to be like, yeah, go do that. When you and yourself should just realize that you should just do it. So I think the biggest thing is that like you have to figure out where is this best going to be distributed, and then from that idea, move forward with it, and like having lots of conversations about the idea with other people.
That's awesome. Yeah, that definitely helps a ton. Like when I started the podcast, I reached out to I had my top 10 people that I wanted to be on the first 10 episodes, reached out to them, kind of got some advice, but also at the same time, like you were saying, when you first started your thing, you had pretty much all your friends and family pretty much were kind of just dismissive of it, but you would put in so much time watching these other awesome people doing it that you already kind of knew what you wanted to say and how you wanted to say it and what kind of person you wanted to become. That's kind of how I was too. I've listened to so many podcasts that I know what I like in a podcast, I know what I don't like in a podcast, and sometimes the person that you're asking advice from might not even be the type of audience member that would be listening to your podcast in the first place.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to take everything with a grain of salt. But of course, getting second opinions from people is always awesome.
Right.
Because getting feedback is the best way to improve.
Right.
For sure. One other thing that I was thinking about a second ago when we were talking about like what you talk about in these meetings and like questions that people ask and stuff. So most of the time it's all about like your message is kind of do the hard thing, do what you're afraid to do, that kind of stuff. Has there ever been a time where like people are just totally unreceptive of the message and or maybe like the Q&A was super awkward or something like that?
That's good. I've never had an awkward Q&A.
That's good.
So that hasn't gotten there yet.
I was just thinking that like if there was any other kind of funny stories like the Rotary Club or anything like that.
Yeah, the Rotary Club is hilarious. I mean, I would say when I go to like middle schools, those are the toughest because the kids are just like, they don't care about anything. Like it's just that stage of life where you're like, I literally don't care about anything. You know, it's like a weird time in life. Yeah. So I get a lot of people that are just not as engaged, but like but I get the feedback from like the teacher that they were engaged. It's weird. Like yeah, it's weird that they were just like, yeah, like that was actually good. Like everyone actually enjoyed what you said. But like if you look at it, it looks like they don't even care what I'm saying at all.
Kids are kind of confused about how to give positive feedback sometimes too, I feel like. Like they think they always are trying to be cool. Yeah. And sometimes like being cool is like not listening or being cool is like not looking at you or something. And I think also kids these days, a lot of, but younger kids, they're growing up, a lot of times they might be not getting attention at home. They might not be getting lots of FaceTime. They're in classrooms with tons of people. And so their faces are buried in their phones, so they don't even really know how to react when like a real human being is up in front of them talking. Yeah. And no one's ever like taught them, like when someone's speaking, look them in the eye or whatever, just kind of basic things you think everyone should know, but a lot of middle schoolers just might not care about knowing or might not even know at all.
Exactly.
That's interesting. So you started moving into kind of getting paid for these speaking engagements and stuff. What was your first paid speaking engagement? How did that happen?
Yeah, so it was when was it? It was March. Last March. Yeah, last March. So no, last May. That's what it was. Last May.
So like a year ago?
Yeah, so like a year ago. That's when it happened. It just cultivated as like I spoke at like an event once. I didn't get paid, and the next event I did get paid.
Nice.
Because I was like the headliner.
Cool.
So that was the first one, and then from there it just started moving.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it more so was like breaking that entry point. It wasn't like a crazy amount, but it was just the size. It was just like good to know that like, okay, cool. Like now I'm getting paid for this. Now it's like, let's take it to the next level, and now that's kind of where it's going. It's gone to the next level, and it's the continuous of keep moving forward with what you're doing. So it really did come from the referrals of me just speaking, like
that's awesome.
Being on the move.
Yeah,
that's where it came from.
It wasn't like you were seeking out getting paid.
Right.
Didn't you do an event that Gary Vaynerchuk was at?
Yeah. So
that's so cool. How did that happen?
Yeah. So this is just crazy. So I just like the SDR Chronicles in itself has been one of the biggest brand builders like that I've done thus far.
That's awesome.
And so from all those episodes, there's a lot of people who know me or know of me, and so I've met them in person or I met via online. And so basically, someone reached out to me, and I knew him, and he was like, "Hey, like I like what you're doing at SDR Chronicles. Like we're having this virtual like summit, and you want to be a part of it?" And I was like, "Cool." I clicked the link. And I see Gary Vaynerchuk's on. I'm like, holy crap! Like about to be in the same event speaking as Gary Vaynerchuk. That's freaking nuts. So that's really how it happened. And I like freaked out for a little bit, but it was really cool.
That's awesome. So it was a virtual summit. So was it you were actually in the same space, or was it like what was it?
So it was more so like everyone kind of had like their interviews like either in person or online. We all didn't meet up at one place. It was just like recordings, and it was all put up there. So like unfortunately I didn't like meet all the speakers, but I was still like a part of it. So those are still cool.
That is really cool. What it was like a virtual summit, so people buy a thing online and they get to watch the playback or whatever.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Do you do, and you kind of mentioned that you do tons of like webinar, podcast kind of stuff like online. So you're doing all those through like Skype, or what are you doing it through?
Yeah, so I'm just a huge believer on just like momentum and riding on it. So when I started producing a lot of content and, VP of sales, director of sales, CEOs, investors, like entrepreneurs were reaching out to me and they were like, what the heck are you doing with this YouTube channel? Like, it's freaking awesome. Like, then I was like, all right, we gotta move. So that's when I started doing tons of lunch and learns through Skype, Google Hangouts, like join me meetings, stuff like that. And then I just started doing a lot of like local, I would just come in and just like talk to your team. And I started doing a lot of podcasts. So like my whole thing is that like no one's gonna know who you are if you're just chilling, not doing anything.
Exactly.
And saying like, I want to be awesome and like nobody's heard of you.
That goes for anything too.
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of friends that are really talented musicians, but like they have not built like any kind of personal brand.
Right.
They've, their songs are out on the internet, like on YouTube or whatever, but it's just like there's not much going on as far as how are people even going to find you.
Right. You got to be a full-time marketer.
Exactly. In today's day and age, you kind of just have to be.
You have to be a marketer.
Yeah.
Like if you're like, I don't like marketing, like that doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't make sense.
Like you're legitimately marketing 100% of the time.
Yeah, because I think also people are kind of thinking of marketing as like creating ad campaigns or, really going deep on their copy or whatever. But it's like, dude, you're marketing yourself constantly.
Yeah.
What are you doing on Tinder? You're marketing yourself. You pick the best picture, you put it up there, you write a little bio that's going to get a laugh or a response or whatever. Like, you're marketing yourself on Facebook if you're on there. Like, constantly we're trying to get other people's attention. That's really all that marketing is. It's just an attention grab, essentially.
Yeah.
That's actually a good way of putting it, because people don't want to be marketers, but you kind of just have to be.
You just have to be. And I knew that, like, I had to be everywhere.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's just the way it is. Like,
it makes sense.
You have to be everywhere. And the thing is that you can't be everywhere. Like, you're not, obviously, you can't be everywhere at once. But my thought process is that, hey, look, if I'm on a podcast and I'm on this show and I'm doing this and I'm doing this, like, all that stuff is just going to be released.
Yeah.
So by the osmosis of those releases, like, people will know about me and I'm not actively doing anything. I just have to show up and do whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, one thing that I've been like super romantic about with my podcast is that I want to do all of them in person.
Yeah.
And I've started to realize that like a lot of people that are, reaching out to me, like wanting to be on the podcast, can't be there in person. And so I'm having this weird internal struggle of like audio quality, and like there's definitely something that happens when you're there in person.
Right.
Like when I'm here with you, there's definitely a connection. The audience knows it too.
Right.
Like they can just feel it. The fact that our responses are not delayed.
Right.
The fact that the audio quality is the same. Just all those things. And one of my pet peeves is when I'm listening to podcasts, sometimes when one person is on, it's like their podcast and their audio quality is great, and then the guest's audio quality sounds like they're talking through a microwave or something. And so I'm trying to wrestle that with myself, because I'm like, I could have these really awesome guests, but my audio quality is gonna suffer. Am I gonna like stay so romantic about that idea that I'm gonna be willing to give up the awesome content and potentially deprive my audience of some value? So I'm kind of just wrestling with that myself. Like, obviously you're doing tons of like webinar podcasts, stuff like that.
Yeah.
What's been your experience on that end?
I'm the person who just like, I don't really care too much about quality.
Yeah,
I really
the audio quality.
I literally could care less about so much. Like it's probably bad because like I'll create something and I'm like whatever, and my friends like that quality is terrible, and I'm just like nah. If it's
just
good,
content.
If it's content, if it's good, like they're gonna listen to it. Like that's my thing. I'm not too like heavy on it.
I feel you. My only thing with it is with podcasts. So for example,
but it's different with podcasts.
Exactly, because it's only audio. That's
audio.
The only thing that you can focus on. So sometimes having grainy audio or like an annoying sound in the background or whatever can really just like make it so that this content's really good, but like I don't know how much more I can stand with this. This is just too much.
I mean, you could always do tests of audio. Some podcasts that I go on, they're like, all right, like if your audio is like trash, like we're gonna have to redo this. You know, like if it's bad, it's like you need to go get something to make it better. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want your audio to be bad if it's a podcast, because like obviously that's the only way you're gonna be able to listen to it.
Exactly. So that's what I think I'm gonna do, is just make those guests, if they want to be on it and I want them to be on it, just make the standards really high.
Right.
And stuff like that. But that's probably not as interesting to everybody listening, but I think it's kind of cool. And I also want to keep everyone listening like informed of like what I'm doing with the podcast and stuff too. Because, I mean, a lot of times when I'm listening to podcasts, I want to know kind of what's going on behind the scenes, because that's interesting to me. You know, like how are they finding these guests? What are they doing? Stuff like that. But that's really cool, man. So to kind of like go back for a second, I actually wanted to talk to you about the whole like esports thing, because that sounds like you said that's something you kind of want to like go into later on. What kind of like, I mean, obviously it sounds like you're a gamer, you played video games and stuff. That's what kind of gets people into all that. But I think a lot of people listening to this might not even be super educated on what that is, what that world is. So kind of just go on that for a little bit and kind of talk about all that world, because I'm sure that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. So nobody really knows this about me too much, but I actually used to be a professional video gamer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like you were making money from playing video games.
Yeah, I mean, essentially yes. But so
sponsorships.
It's like, I was on a team, so like I never did like, I did a couple single stuff, but it was all team based. So I was on a team. We would do like local stuff, or we would do like national stuff. Like you wouldn't go to the events sometimes. Sometimes you just like play from your home.
That makes sense though, because it's a video game. You don't really have to be there.
You don't have to be there. Yeah. So
it's not like football.
Exactly. So it was crazy. So like Halo 2, when I was growing up, like it was one of those games where I played it, and then like I was like I just like was really good at it.
Yeah.
And I was
Halo 2 was awesome.
It was like still to this day the best multiplayer game that I'll probably ever play. So I got hooked on it, and I just started like murking people, and I was at like the high levels, like because there's 50 levels, so I was like at a level like 48, 49. So I was playing with like pros essentially, like before I was even like recognized for anything. And so in one game I actually was playing, and I like was the top leaderboard, whatever, and I got like a private message, and they were like, hey, do you like want to join our team? And I was
clan.
Like, yeah, and I was like, what the heck does this mean, dude? So I was
How old are you?
Shoot. So I was like,
this is Halo 2, so you're probably
16.
Nice.
15. Yeah. So like 9 years ago?
Yeah.
10 years ago? So yeah, I was like 15, 16. And I was like, sure, like, yeah, I'll join the team. And so they made me try out. This is the craziest thing to this day. So I tried out, did really well, got on the team, and then basically being on that team, basically it was like, all right, like, this is the setup. This is the captain, this is actually the leader of the organization, and basically we like played professional, like played pro games. And so that experience was awesome because, you know, I think I learned a lot about strategy. I believe strategy is like the most important thing, like above all, at least in my head. So I learned all about strategy. I learned how to really like execute teamwork. So like, I don't know, I always got roasted because like I was a video game kid and people thought that was lame, but I thought that I was learning the most, and it was like my safe haven, you know? Cause like growing up, like I said, I wasn't the most popular kid. Like I had like, I got roasted because like my name was Morgan. So like people thought it was a girl's name. So I was like sick. I had glasses, like, so that obviously wasn't going for me. And so it was just, you know,
it's like, sorry, my eyes aren't good.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't really do much
and socially,
about it.
I actually really wasn't that good at being social yet. So like, I was like, I just wasn't there, you know? So like,
but like video games was that thing that you excelled at.
Video games was something I excelled at a lot, and it was my safe haven, and I was really good at it, and like, that was when I was at home. So literally, like after school, I would like do my homework, and I would just sit there like forever and just play.
Some people would, you know, I was just thinking about this. Some people would bring up like the whole video game addiction thing.
Yeah.
Because that's like a hot topic right now, is like, not necessarily right now, but at least when video games, you know, parents were really worried because they'd hear these stories on the news of kids that like were addicted to video games. And on episode, I think it was 3 of the podcast, me and my friend Davis, he talked about his experience like going to rehab and stuff like that. And we were talking about like all the different types of addictions. And it's weird because like you could be addicted to playing soccer. You could be addicted to public speaking. You could be you could be like mentally addicted to so many things. Why do you think that video games get such a bad rap as far as being addicted?
I think it depends on the video game that you're playing. I think that like Grand Theft Auto and games like that, like I think like when you're sitting there, like people don't see it as like you're benefiting from something. You're just sitting there just playing games.
Just mindless.
Mindless. I think that's the rap about it. Definitely
there are some games that are mindless for sure.
Right. And I think that's where the bad rap comes from. It's like, oh, you're just sitting there, you're not doing anything with your life, But I don't think that's the case. And this is kind of segue into like the esports thing, but like people were making money. Like when I was playing games, people were making a good amount of money.
Yeah, for sure.
And so it's like I don't think that we need to knock people for playing games. I just don't think that's right, because like at the end of the day, it's like you can make money from playing games if you're good. Now, if you're not good and you're just playing games, like obviously it's a different story. But like if you're sitting there and you're actually like killing it, like that just doesn't make sense for me why you would stop that person. And so I guess from like Halo, even Gears of War, my friend played pro in that, like Super Smash Brothers, all those games. I think that like those games, like strategically, you have to be pretty good at them. Like there's a lot of
mashing buttons.
There's a lot of thought process in a lot of games. Like Halo 2, like made me strategically think of like a lot of things. We were like, all right, we got to do this, to do this, to do this, to do this. Like it was like very, very strategic.
You got to be a couple steps ahead.
You had to be smooth in some of those games. Like League of Legends, you probably heard of that game.
Oh yeah,
like I played that game.
One of my old roommates used to play League of Legends like all night long.
Yeah. But that takes strategy. Like you actually got to know what you're doing. Like you got to be pretty smart to play those games. So when it comes to those games, I think that's good. But also we need to talk about escapism. Like it's some people's escapism. Because some people would rather not go get really drunk. Some people would rather not go smoke weed, whatever, like go watch TV, like House of Cards. People would rather be like, I want to go play video games. And that's their escapism from like how they're dealing with their life. So some people watch sports, some people play video games, and I think people should be encouraged to do that. I think, of course, it does get to a point where there can be, like, you're sitting there for 10 hours playing, probably a problem. But
just like health factors, too, it's not good to sit for that long.
Yeah, no, it's not good. But I think that, like, it is some people's escapism. And so going back to the money thing, I got super fired about esports when I started watching League of Legends. Like, I actually, like, watched it like as if I was watching
as like a sport.
As a sport. I watched it.
Because you knew what was going on. Kind of like how a lot of times...
Because I was in it.
Exactly. And like sometimes girls kind of have that thing where they're at a football party or something like, I don't know what's going on. This is so dumb. Yeah. But like to someone who actually knows the game, they're like, okay, this guy's about to sneak around this guy. Oh, that was a beautiful play.
Yeah.
And so you knowing League of Legends that hardcore, having played it for hours and hours, you could appreciate that. Oh, snap, that was genius. This guy used this attack at this exact time or whatever.
Exactly. So I would get hype about it because, like, I play this game and, like, they're killing it, right?
And there's millions of people that watch video games,
and
especially League of Legends.
So I'm going to go into that. And so I started watching League of Legends. And as I was watching it, I was like, wait, like, this is bigger than we all realize. Like, this is not a joke, right? So I looked it up. There are more people who watch the League of Legends like final matchup than the NBA Finals, the NHL Finals, and what was the other one? It was in the MLB World Series. There were more people watching the League of Legends Finals than all three of those sports that I just mentioned.
Combined?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes. So when I realized
that's also because it's worldwide too.
Exactly. So that's when I knew that like this is a big deal. Like this isn't just a joke. And so I knew that the viewership was there. And then I figured out how much are these people actually making. So they're making like millions of dollars to just sit there and play games.
Literally the people that are playing are making millions?
Yeah.
That's insane.
There are people who are playing, not every single person, but there are some people who are making millions of dollars.
Damn.
And it's only starting. Like you're only on the cusp of it, right? So they're getting that money from straight up, like they're getting paid to do that because they're winning championships and stuff like that. But people are getting paid that because like they have sponsorships. So they're getting millions of dollars just to play games, which is like
that's insane.
Not bad at the end of the day, right? Like just play video games. So that's when I knew that esports, I believe, is the next biggest thing. Like it will be bigger than everything else, and the money that comes out of that is something to not like to laugh at. Like it genuinely is going to be serious.
Exactly. It is crazy because I remember my roommate in college like telling me how crazy, like you just said, like the finale was watched by more people than all those things. And I think that it's not so commonly known because it's not an event that you actually have to like go to. It's something that you watch in your room by yourself.
Yeah.
And you might have like viewing parties or whatever with your friends, but like, when you're playing League of Legends with your friends, typically you're not in the same room. You're probably playing online. When you're watching League of Legends online, you're not really watching with anyone else. It's quietly become this huge giant, and like you said, people are literally making millions of dollars. So some of these events are being held in like actual arenas, right?
Yeah, so I think it was in London, they held it somewhere. In LA, they have like a regular season, so it's held in an arena.
It's literally like a season.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Season and everything. And then playoffs at the end, and then you have like an entry point to get to like finals, which is like with the other teams and other countries.
That's so crazy. It seems so on some levels it seems kind of silly because it's like these guys are just really good at moving their controllers in a certain way to win the game. Like that's really what it is. But if you really kind of break it down another way, it's like people who are really good at basketball, they're really good at getting that little rubber ball into that hole.
Yeah.
And that's just the one thing they're good at. Who knows if they have good social skills? Who knows if they're, who knows if their marriage is in disarray? Who knows about the rest of their life? But they sure as hell can throw that rubber ball into a hole. Yeah. And so it's kind of the same thing with video games, I guess. Because you're just really good at playing that game and people want to watch.
Yeah, so that's where it's at. And League of Legends has taken the forefront on that. So I paid heavy attention to that. Now it's even getting to, Super Smash. It's evolving. So I think, like I said, in the next 5 years it's gonna have a lot of market share. And I think like the people that are playing games that are professionals are gonna be like the next like rock stars.
That's
like people
crazy.
are actually gonna be like, oh, like I know that guy because he plays video games.
Wow.
Which is like people are listening now. They're like, that doesn't
make sense.
But it's coming.
But you could even say like 10 years ago, whatever, YouTubers are super famous now and they're even like on TV and whatever. But like I feel like 10, 15 years ago, you'd be like, that guy got famous on the internet and now the majority of the country knows who he is. No, that's not possible. It's like you got to be on TV, you got to be in movies to be recognized. But we have no idea the type of potential that the internet has. Like we're barely scratching the surface.
Yeah.
So with the video game thing, who's paying these people, and does it cost money to watch? Is that why they're making money, or what's going on?
So I mean, they're making money off of sponsorships. That's first and foremost.
So they're wearing like a jersey and they've got sponsors on it?
Right, so yeah, all their jerseys have all these sponsors on it. It's kind of like
a NASCAR thing.
Like a NASCAR thing. They literally have like sponsors everywhere. So that's part of the money that they're getting. They're also getting money from the championships that they win, the playoffs games that they win. You're like, are they actually winning games? You get paid for that. And you're also getting paid just because like you're on the team. So the team has money. They normally have like a team house. And the team is getting money from just like straight up the winnings that they have, and also just from like other vendors as well, like from the actual league, because there's a league under that. Yeah,
that's so crazy. Yeah. So for every different game, is there a different league, or is there like one league and there's lots of different games that people play in that same league?
Yeah, so it used to be MLG, Major League Gaming. Like when I played, that
whenever I think of that, I always think of those videos of like,
yeah, exactly. So that's essentially what, when I was playing Halo 2, that's what we were under. One of my friend played Pro, Gears of War, he was under MLG, but that has now become not as relevant because of Twitch. So Twitch is basically the forefront of everything.
That's like a live streaming platform for gamers, right?
It is the hub for gamers. Like if you want to go watch live gaming and like see someone like legit, like you're gonna go to Twitch. Like Twitch has completely just taken over that market. So basically, what happens is that each like game has essentially its own league. Esports is just the part of it.
Gotcha. It's just like basketball. And then you have the NBA.
In the NBA, like college basketball, like AAU, YBOA, high school basketball, right? So
makes sense.
It's like esports is the genre, and then there are leagues under that. So For the League of Legends, it's LCS, so League Championship Series, and so they have a
Is that run by the League of Legends company? Are they affiliated?
No.
Huh.
It's not run by the League of Legends company.
That's so interesting.
It's run by another company.
So does League of Legends get royalties for the fact that they're playing their video game?
Yeah, they're getting money from that.
And they're totally supportive.
But yeah, they're supportive. But the League of Legends does not actively run it. From what I know, they do not actually actively run it. There's another company that runs it because they're just focused on we're just trying to make this game cool, you know?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Stick to what you know. Yeah. Let the people who know how to run events run the events, and make the games for the people who know how to make games. Right,
and so essentially there's a European LCS, there's an Asia LCS, and then there's China, and then there's just USA.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's separated into all of those.
But within those umbrellas, there's the league. So all those are league ones, right? League of Legends. Gotcha.
Right.
So if there was a Super Smash Bros. One, that'd be a totally different league?
It's a totally different league.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But League of Legends is the biggest right now. It is cultivated into the actual movement for providing for esports.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's so insane that many people want to watch people play video games, but it kind of makes sense.
It is crazy because most people would never realize that.
Yeah. So earlier you were kind of saying that you played video games and then you kind of fizzled out.
Yeah.
Was that just because you got bored of it, or why'd you stop playing professionally or whatever?
It's because I loved basketball. So I was playing video games and I was playing basketball. So I just wanted to focus more on basketball, so I stopped playing games at that high caliber of level.
Gotcha.
Because there's a lot of time commitment to it.
Definitely.
But I really wanted to play basketball, so
you got to put some hours into those games.
Yeah. So you really do, and you have to meet with your team weekly because you have to run skirms, which is scrimmages, and you also have to do training, and you have to talk about new strategy. So it's a lot that goes into it. You got to be committed to it. And the team was kind of waning off. People weren't wanting to play Halo 2 anymore. It was during the time where Halo 2 was starting to die, and people Halo 3 was about to come out, and people were going to newer games. So it was one of those things where it was kind of the game was kind of wasn't really going anywhere.
Just running its course.
And it was running its course, and I wanted to focus more on basketball, so that's kind of how it happened. There was no other game that really that I loved as much as Halo 2, so I wasn't gonna go find a new game to go be pro at because that's gonna just take a lot more work to do.
Exactly. And people who don't play video games would think that, well, if you're good at Halo, then you're definitely going to be good at Call of Duty. And it's
no,
they're totally different.
Two different games. I suck at Call of Duty.
Yeah,
I'm terrible.
Which seems ridiculous because they're both shooting games.
Yeah.
The controls are generally the same, and you could map the controls to be identical if you wanted it to. But the games themselves are completely different. Which people who don't play video games that's just something they probably don't understand. And then earlier you also mentioned that you kind of wanted to move back into that esports realm someday. What kind of part in that would you want to play?
Yeah, so I essentially I always want to be a sports agent, so I probably want to be an agent. I don't know the depths of where that's at right now because people are starting to move towards that direction, but I don't know who would you manage? There's not there's only a couple people that are out there that are big enough to even
have an agent.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but
eventually it'll be tons of people have
a thing, and I know it will be. That's why I've been doing my research. That's why I continuously stay on top of it. That's why I have tons and tons of research on it, filed away on my computer. I've been doing tons of research on it for the past 4 years. But the biggest thing is that I just I would love to be an agent. I think that'd be awesome. Or basically handling some type of marketing of a brand or something like that, or building someone's brand that's
around esports.
Yeah, that's kind of what I see. I think that's from when I started talking to other gamers and went to gaming industries. A lot of people just don't understand business. And I do. I understand marketing, I understand branding, and they just understand how to play games, and that's it. So I know that I could come in there like a mesh.
Yeah, that makes sense. What do you think, kind of to go back to that business side thing that you were saying, people, these gamer people, they just have no idea about business. What do you think is the biggest misconception of quote unquote business that people have, or like the biggest thing that they just don't understand?
So I think it's creatives and gamers fall in this pool, right? So there's a lot of people, because you mentioned it, like there's a lot of people who are really good at music, but they have no idea how to brand themselves. Mm-hmm. They probably are amazing, but they just don't know how to like get themselves.
We all know a musician that's super talented,
right.
way better singer than Katy Perry or Miley Cyrus or whoever, but they're on the radio, they're the ones making money, and your friend is probably sitting at home in the basement.
Yeah.
Why?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Right. Same thing with artists, like painters. Like they have really good paintings, but they're like, oh, no, I don't want to like show my work. I'm like, what? So you think that someone's just gonna come to you one day and be like, I want to see your work. I know that you're a painter. Like, I think that's the problem. Is that people are so, they know that their work is good, but they're also afraid to just like put it out there.
Do you think that's a thing of fear, or do you think like, this isn't my best stuff, so I don't want to put it out there?
That. So pride of being like, this isn't my best stuff, so like I don't want to put it out there. I don't want to make myself look like that. I don't know what I'm doing. I think it's fear because people are just fearful, and I think also it's just like people just don't know. They just don't know how to market it, or they don't know how to like basically like show something and not seem like, oh, like this is all about me. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
I think a lot of people run into that where they just really don't know. They're like, well, I don't really know how to like market this. I don't know how to get myself out there.
They just don't even know the first step. Like they see other people doing it, and they just are like, it does not compute kind of thing.
Yeah, it's just like I don't get it. I don't want to do it.
They can't visualize themselves.
Right.
Yeah, that was actually a similar situation happened with. I was an au pair for a little while. Do you know what an au pair is?
Yeah.
It's kind of like a nanny.
Yeah.
And I lived in Spain for a while, and one of my host mom, one of her brothers is actually like somewhat famous over there for his art. He was on like a TV show, like a reality show, where he was, I think like one of the, not a judge, but he was like one of the personalities on the show or whatever. And so people recognize him. He has like really awesome art, but like he had the same thing where he just had no idea how to like sell his stuff. And he had a little shop in Madrid, and he just had no idea how to like actually get his art and like move it, like get people to actually buy it. And so my host dad, that was like one of his like side projects, was like helping the artist guy with his thing, because it does seem like a lot of times the creatives just don't have that side to them, and I think it's a really unique. It takes a really unique person, like for example Gary Vaynerchuk or something. He's got so many great ideas. He's so creative. But he also has that crazy business side and knows how to execute. And I think having that kind of perfect mesh of things is awesome, and it's something that you really want. If there is someone out there like a musician or a gamer or somebody who has no idea how to market themselves, would you encourage them to learn it, or would you encourage them to seek out someone to kind of do it for them or help them?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's depending on what you want to do. I think seeking out somebody to help them, I think that could make it a lot easier on you if like you have the money to like hire that person, or you have the time to go talk to that individual, because if you have someone helping you, you can only focus on like what you're creating. Because I think people get really bogged down on just like, oh crap, I have to create and I have to market, But I just think it's just a lot faster if you know how to do both.
Exactly.
Like I just understand both, so I can do it.
That's kind of how I am right now. Like I'm creating a lot of like stuff for Instagram, like little branding things on my Instagram, and it's just so much faster because I know what I want it to look like, and I don't have to like tell an artist to like, okay, I want the picture to be like this, and then have the quote like this. Like I've done my work in Photoshop. I know how to make it, and so I just put it out there or whatever. That's kind of, I feel like a lot of people are missing. They either have one or they have the other, which is kind of interesting. So like segueing from the esports thing back to kind of the motivational speaking thing, I feel like we're kind of wrapping it up a little bit, but I feel like it would be kind of cool if you kind of gave everybody a little piece of your motivational speaking thing. Like I feel like that'd be kind of cool. Like kind of just go into kind of what you would say on stage or go into your spiel or whatever. Yeah. So like, do you want to do that?
I can do it, yeah.
Okay, cool. I feel like that'd be kind of cool. So like, so people can kind of get a taste of what to expect. So.
Okay, I got you.
Go for it, man.
Cool.
Or I guess All right, ladies and gentlemen. No, I'm just kidding.
If you want to introduce me, that's cool.
I'm just kidding. But seriously, yeah,
Yes.
I feel like that'd be kind of cool for you to just do that.
Yeah. So, all right, cool. So I got something in my head. So guys, this is something that I want you guys to really kind of focus and hone in on. I want you to focus and hone in on consistency. And consistency in itself is the most beneficial thing you can do for your entire life. And so if you focus on consistency, not only will you start seeing consistent results, you'll see actually consistent behavior change. And so when you actually remain consistent, it actually can motivate you to do more things because it actually becomes part of your habits. And when your habits are good, like your outcomes are good. So if you really focus on the consistency of your actions to be better, then you will become better. If you consistently work out, if you consistently read, if you're consistently around the right people, it will motivate you to be a better person and in return hit your goals. And so what I want you guys to really focus and hone in on is just to be super fired up about, hey, look, if you're actually starting something and being consistent, like do that. If it's 5 minutes of reading, it eventually will elevate into an hour of reading. If it's 5 minutes of working out, it'll eventually go up into an hour of working out. If it's 5 minutes of just like doing cold outreach, it will be like 5 hours of cold outreach. Be consistent, and that in itself will motivate you to be the person that you need to be.
There we go.
There you
Boom.
go. There you
I
go.
like that. That
There you
was
go.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, Morgan, is there anything else that you want to promote or shout out or say to the people?
Yeah, nothing really to promote. You know, at the end of the day, like if you do have further questions, I'm always willing to answer questions. So the best way to find me is Morgan J. Ingram at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. It's all across the board. That's the best way to find me, and you would love to answer any questions that you guys have. But I really enjoyed being on this podcast today.
There we go, man. Well, dude, I appreciate you being on it. And
Yeah.
So if you need a motivational speaker, if you need a speaker to your next thing,
Yeah.
hit him up.
Got you guys.
All right, cool. We'll talk to you later, everybody. Boom. That is a wrap. I really want to thank Morgan for being on the show. That was a super fun podcast, and I hope that you enjoyed listening to it as much as we did recording it. But make sure you follow Morgan on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube to keep up with everything that he's doing. I'll have all the links listed in the episode description. But if you want to support the podcast, the best way to do that is to go to iTunes or the podcast app if you have an iPhone. Find the Andrew Deitch podcast. Leave it a 5-star review. Give me some feedback in there. And I'm really trying to get into the new and noteworthy section in there. So if you can download all the episodes of the podcast, even if you're not going to listen to all of them, that will be really helpful because having more downloads helps me get higher up in the rankings on that new and noteworthy section. And also having lots of ratings in there too. The past couple weeks, I haven't been getting as many ratings in there. It's really helpful if you can go in there and rate it a 5-star review. Mainly, I think people aren't going in there and rating it just because they're thinking, oh, well, everyone else is rating, I'll rate it later. But it would be really helpful if you, the person listening to this, if you could go to the store and actually rate it 5 stars, that would be awesome, and I would really appreciate it. But if you want to follow me on my social media platforms, best way to do that is to go to my website, andrewdeitch.com. That's Andrew, DEITSCH.com. And you can find links to all of my social media handles and accounts. And make sure you're following the podcast Instagram. That's at AD Podcast on Instagram. I'm putting out a lot of cool content there. And make sure you're following me on Snapchat this week, Andrew.Deitch, because I'm posting a lot of funny content here in Washington, D.C. You definitely don't want to miss out on all the madness. But that's pretty much it. The weekly update's coming soon where I will announce all the episodes for the coming week. And that will be launched in the next couple of days. But that's it. I got to go. I'm going out tonight. Got a lot of stuff to do. So I will talk to you guys later.